All right. We're back again with another installment of the Hobbit series.
Part 2, The Desolation of Smaug.
Now, not a bad one. This one, it was kind of moving. I don't think this is a bad one. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but it was tolerable than the last one.
It definitely went by much faster than the first one.
Especially with 2 hours and 40 minutes. Now, the last 42 minutes of this movie felt like a whole nother hour, because it was just, like, every time we get to the end of these movies, they drag on for so long. I'm like, I thought we had 42 minutes left, and it's just, they keep going. They just never, it's just, I feel like it's never going to end, honestly.
I guess while they're still, like, they change scenes, like, they go through different areas and stuff. It keeps it fresh, makes it move fast. But whenever there's one particular scene that just lasts for 40 minutes straight,
honestly, it's just,
that's when it just feels like an extra hour and a half.
For real. So, I so far, this definitely my favorite one. Out of the two we saw, definitely my favorite one. Everyone does their job. I think everyone does good. I really like this one. This one's very good. So, I mean, visually it's pretty good. I mean, there are some scenes where the CGI gets a little wonky, but I mean, this was back in like 2012 or something. So, I mean, I can't fault them for it, but I don't really care about all that. I mean, like I said, I really like this one. It was pretty good. Yeah, so you want to get started, or what are we thinking?
All right, so it starts out with...
off with the self-conceited director, Peter Jackson, eating the carrot right off the bat.
Yes, the first scene.
That's all I get from this scene was just... oh, look, Peter Jackson cameo. Everything else in this scene, I could care less for. It's literally just Gandalf and Oakenshield talking about...
yeah, they're basically just re-explaining everything that's
from the
happened.
first one, yeah.
They're saying, assassins are coming after Thorin, and
what was it called? The Black English? Was it Black English or?
Oh, it's the Black Speak or something.
Black Speech. That's what it's called. Speech. That's what it's called. Black Speech. So yeah, it's in the Black Speech, and he's got a bounty on his head, and then Gandalf is like, we need a burglar, and then Hamburger shows up, Bilbo.
Right, then it goes from being the past, it moves on to the present day, picks up right after the first Hobbit movie. It starts out with Bilbo doing recon.
Yeah.
And then he sees the band of orcs that never seem to leave them alone. And then he sees a new creature, a very large bear-looking creature.
Which at first glance, when I was looking at, I thought it was like an orc dog.
Yeah, like one of the wards.
Yeah,
it just looked exactly like
it looks exactly the same. Now, like when they go like later, 30 minutes into it, when you finally see the bear, you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about. But when you first look at him, it's like, I thought that was just an orc dog that was like staying behind. But yeah, so Bilbo, he sees the bear or whatever, tells him, he's like, hey, there's something bigger out there. And then Gandalf's like, bigger than a bear. And he's like, yeah, how did you know that? How would you know that?
Of course, here's the running theme of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Gandalf knows that there's danger, but doesn't tell anyone because he wants to feel smarter than everyone.
And so he's like, bigger than a bear. And they're like, yeah. So then he's like, okay, well, I know a house. He's neither friend or foe. But if he don't like us, he's going to kill us. And if he lets us in, he lets us in. So they do this whole running thing. They run to the house. They're running from the orcs and the bear. And then they get to the house. I guess dwarves don't know how to use a door. Because all you got to do is unlock the latch and you're good.
Yeah, they spend like a good minute of this giant bear creature chasing them, just banging on a door where the lock's on the outside.
So they get inside, and then Gandalf is like, Oakenshield. He's like, whose house is this? Here comes Gandalf.
It's the bear.
It's the bear. And so they're like, oh no. Oakenshield's like, what was that? And Gandalf's like, that's our host. And it turns out that's the bear. So then they sleep that night.
They wake up, and then the bear guy turns back into being a skin changer.
Yeah,
I think that's what they call it.
Skin changer. And so that happens. Nothing really important with that scene. It just kind of the guy, feed the dwarf whatever, just
They
food.
they find out the orcs like killed all the skin changers except for him. So he puts aside his hatred for the dwarves to help them.
Yeah, to help the orcs, and then I'm not to help the orcs, to help the dwarves, and then so that happens. So that was pretty much that scene. So then next, the pale orc. I forget what his name is. It's just the pale orc. I mean, honestly,
Azog the Defiler.
The Defiler, yeah, that's what the Defiler. Honestly, they shouldn't even give him a name. They should just give him the pale orc because honestly, no one else looks like him. They call him back to the castle to the necromancer. Then they call in. Now, if I'm being honest with you, out of all the orcs, this is the last guy I'm calling to lead my troops because he looks like he's been through some stuff. He has his head is dented in. He's blind in one eye.
Yeah, his eyes completely glazed over. He's missing a quarter of his head.
Exactly. And I'm like, this is the guy that's taking your spot. I'm like, I want to go back with you. If I was one of the orcs, I'm like, I'm going back to the castle with the pale orc.
He doesn't look like he's had any serious brain trauma.
But it looks like he's failed a few times. But so that was that. And then let's see. Oh, so we go back to the dwarfs and Gandalf. The skin changer gave them ponies. They ride to the forest. Gandalf has a little conversation before they entered the forest with Lady G, and telepathically, and they're talking. And she's like, I guess she's warning them about like Sauron.
Yeah,
and
basically the necromancer and
the necromancer. And so that happens, and so then Gandalf's like, well, guess what, guys? You wouldn't believe this. I gotta go. I gotta leave y'all.
The forest ahead of you. If you step off the path, you're gonna die. You're never gonna find the path again. You're gonna get killed, or you'll walk for an eternity. So y'all have fun with that. I have to go leave.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell you where I'm going.
I gotta go. I wouldn't leave if I didn't have to. So they do that, and if you couldn't guess by now, they lose the path. So
they walk on the path maybe 2 minutes, and then they're immediately, how do we get back on the path? This doesn't seem like the path.
And so we're spending a lot of time, them, looking around. I guess going in a circle. And Bilbo has a smart idea. He's like, I'm just gonna climb the trees. So he climbs the trees. He sees the mountain, and what blows my mind is they've been going around in circles. They don't know where they're going, but somehow they're doing pretty good. They're getting closer to the mountain. You would think they'd be pretty far.
Yeah, you think they'd just be going around in circles, which, I mean, they might have shown, the same tree twice. I don't remember. But they are making it closer to the mountain.
And why not going through the path? Then they're just getting closer to the mountain. I'm just like, honestly, don't listen to Gandalf anymore. Just do what you got to do. But they get captured by spiders. Bilbo falls down.
Bilbo's playing in the spider webs while he's climbing up the tree.
Oh, that's right. He's like stringing them along, and it's like making like these sounds or whatever to all the other spiders. And not only he doesn't do it once, he does it twice.
Yeah,
and
he does it twice, and while he's like climbing up the tree, he's like getting hung up in the web.
Yeah, I'm like, Bilbo, what are we doing? And so, and I'm not gonna lie to you, probably the worst spiders. I wouldn't say, I guess not spiders plural. The spider that tied up Bilbo did a terrible job because Bilbo just whips his sword out, cuts it, and then
it's like he's not hindered at all.
Yeah,
he just grabs a sword, cuts himself free.
Exactly, and I'm just like, what? Can the other guys not do that too? Did the other spiders this must be like a rookie spider? Like this was his first task, and he's just like, I can't mess it up, and so. That happens, and so then, but of course, Bilbo frees all the other ones. What seems to be the theme of this movie is Bilbo saving everybody with the ring.
Not only is he like the burglar, but he has to save everybody multiple times
with the ring, and the ring is back for another cash grab. Get the audience back in. But yeah, so he saves them. They all fight the spiders. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't understand how Bilbo learned to fight, because he fights these spiders. He fights this one spider, And he cuts his little leg off at first, and with the ring on. Then he takes the ring off and stabs him in the face, and I'm like, why not just do that with the ring on? Why you have to take the ring off to do that? But
the ring's starting to make him crazy. It's starting to make him, he's more like, oh, look at me, look how badass I am.
Yeah. And so I mean, I guess he's getting some of the Sauron power, the fighting power with the ring on, because
I guess so.
And so he does that. Well, and so then after he kills this one spider, he loses the ring. Like it looks like it falls down.
Another pattern. He drops the ring a lot.
He drops the ring, and it looks like it falls down. I'm like, there's no way you're finding that ring in the forest. Well, I look over. Oh, there it is, right there.
It's right at his feet.
Right at my feet. I'm just like, oh, okay. And so he's got to go a little bit more. But then this other spider comes out the ground and doesn't go for the ring at all. It looks like he's just going to try to go kill Bilbo. And Bilbo kills him. And he's like, my ring. And I'm like, Bilbo, he didn't look like he was going for it's a fucking spider. Like, what?
It's because like one of his claws got near the ring. So he's like, oh, he's going to take my ring.
He's gonna take it. And so he kills that spider. Well, so then let's see. Then after that, here come the forest elves. They done took all the spiders on they could, but then here comes the forest elves. Kicking ass, Orlando Bloom.
Yes.
He comes
Legolas from Lord of the Rings is
Melon, as we're gonna refer to him.
Melon.
He's Melon. We're gonna get to that in a little bit. But Melon shows up. He starts kicking ass, all the spiders or whatever, and then the GQ elf. He's by himself. He's fighting off a spider. Here comes this. I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name.
We're just gonna call her the baddie elf because
I did not take notes on her.
The baddie elf shows up and she is just whipping ass, and she saves the only decent looking dwarf they have on the team.
The tallest dwarf, the one without fat fingers.
The tallest dwarf. We'll get to that when she says it. So he's like, throw me a dagger, and she's like, I'm not gonna throw you this dagger. But then like she looks at him, and she's like, maybe I should throw you a dagger because so they have a little connection there or whatever. And so I'm like, all right, so this is GQ elf and this he's the only decent one besides maybe the king, but even the king, his nose is pretty like. His nose, but this dwarf right here, nothing wrong with him.
He's basically just a short man.
Exactly. And so they go, and so the forest elves show up, and it turns out the forest elves were the ones that turned their back on Oakenshield when the dragon took the castle or whatever. So they turned their back on him. So the king elf.
Yeah, they take him as prisoner and they bring him back, and they offer Oakenshield. They say, we'll give you aid as long as you give us all the Starlight stones. I'm not sure if that's necessarily referring to the Arkenstone, but it might be. And Oakenshield doesn't take it. He says, you didn't help me in the past, so. What makes you think What makes you think that I'm gonna take your help now? You're just gonna betray me later on. So, throws him in prison.
Honestly, and the way the king moves, he's like, he's trying to do too much with his body, and I'm just like, what are you doing? He's like a worm or something. Like he's moving like a snake, and I'm like, he's a snake. If I'm being honest with you, to Oakenshield, he is a snake. Cause I can't trust you.
He's Legolas's dad.
Yeah,
he looks like he's maybe 3-4 years older than Legolas.
The elves, I guess, age differently. So, so that happened. And so then we go back to the elves putting the dwarves in the prison or in their cells or whatever. And then here it comes. The baddie elf, of course, puts the GQ elf in the cell. And then, they have, a little connection or whatever. And then she looks at him.
They talk about his rock.
Yeah, and so they have a little connection and look at each other. And so she's like, she's leaving. And here comes Melon, and he's like,
you talking to that dwarf?
No, he's like, why is that dwarf looking at you like that? And
she's because dwarves can't even look at you.
Yeah,
that's your fault.
And so she's like, why is that dwarf looking at you? And she's like, I don't know. And she's like, but he says something about him being a dwarf, and she's like, but he does look tall. I'm like,
Still ugly though.
No, he does not. He is not that tall. I think the king is taller than him, and I'm just like,
the king's taller than him, and he's maybe 2 foot shorter than like the male guy, the male human that they meet later.
Yeah,
they have like a side by side of him. He's like 2 foot shorter, and he's shorter than him. So.
Exactly, and so that happens. And I also wanted to mention this: the dwarfs. Why are there so many? I don't even remember. There's 13 of them, but I only remember like 4 or 5 of them. Like
every couple scenes, I'm like, oh, I don't even remember that dwarf.
Exactly.
Like I don't even remember his face or nothing.
And so I'm like, all right. And so like, I don't understand why there's so many dwarfs, because only 5 of them are important apparently. But so after they get taken to the prisoner, Bilbo. He snuck in with the ring, so they haven't captured him yet.
I don't even remember them not capturing him. I guess he was in the part of the forest.
Yeah, he was he was with the rings like mine. He was too busy glowing about.
They just didn't notice him. Yeah. Another theme coming up: the elves do not have spatial awareness. Shit.
They do not. They do not check their surroundings. So Bilbo he's freeing the guys, his dwarf friends, because he's got the ring on, so he frees them. Puts them in a bunch of barrels or whatever that the elves had, and then lets them go in the water. Right underneath the little latch goes into water, and so the barrels fall into the water.
Yeah, why they have barrels sitting on top of a trap door that leads to water? Who knows? Who knows the elves' thinking process behind building these things?
And so yeah, he does that, and then he stays, and then Bilbo himself doesn't get in a barrel. So I'm just like, and then he sits there, he goes, oh, you know what? Maybe I should have gone in a barrel. More of a comedic kind of thing, but I'm like, you needed to get in the barrel. Don't act like you didn't need to know you didn't need to get in the barrel.
Yeah, there was 14 barrels. He decides not to get in one, and then whenever the trap door closes behind him, he's like, I should have got in a barrel.
And so then he's stomping on the thing, and he walks backwards, and the latch opens up or whatever. And then, so that happens. And so then they're on this big waterfall chase down the stream, getting chased by the orcs. And the orcs move so fast in this movie. Like, they're at one spot, and they catch up to them so fast. I'm like, these orcs, man. I'm just like, they're really fast. Other than that, they're kind of useless, bro. If I'm the necromancer, I do not want these guys in my army.
Yeah, they have no training whatsoever.
They can't fight worth shit. I'm just like, why do you want these guys? Just because they look creepy or something? I don't know, but
another crazy thought. They're being chased by the orcs this whole time. Are the orcs not affected by the woods or anything? They just
good point.
They know exactly where to go at all times.
they know the path, and so that happens. So then they're getting chased, and then they see the lever, and then there's a lever leading out the elf kingdom, but they close it, and so but then the orcs show up. They start killing everybody. Well, the GQ dwarf shows up. He gets out of his barrel. He goes to unlock the to go pull down the lever or whatever to pull it up, and get shot in the leg with an arrow.
Yes.
Immediately falls down. I'm like, I feel like you've been through worse, but I mean, I guess falling down that area. So he falls down. Can we guess who saves him?
The baddie elf.
The baddie elf shows up, saves him. He looks over and he's like, she saved me. Oh my god. So she saves him. He gets the latch. The doors open up, and Melon, he's fine. He's fine. All the other orcs. He's also fine. He shows up. He's fine. Some of the orcs, and then, but I mean, pretty much. It's just a downstream action sequence. Nothing really crazy happens here. It's just,
they're hopping out of barrels, hopping back in barrels.
This one dwarf literally is just like, he's rolling down, like he gets out of the stream, rolls down to the land, bursts out of his barrel, kills some orcs, hops in another barrel, and I'm like, there was not that many barrels just to be breaking and hopping back into. I was like, where did this barrel show up? But anyway, so that's happened, and then, so then they go, and then they go down to the stream. They get out of their barrels.
That leads to like a tributary to like a lake. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it goes to an opening that opens up to like a lake.
Exactly. And so then I can't remember if this happens or not, but we can't forget about Gandalf. Gandalf is on his side quest. We got to cut back to Gandalf for a little bit, because Gandalf's on his little side quest where Lady G told him to go. and
he goes to the prisons.
the prison. I really didn't know where he went. She didn't. I don't know if she told him. I don't really remember the name.
I think it was like the prisons in the north or something like that. I don't exactly remember.
So yeah, and so Gandalf goes there. We get a little treat from Gandalf. We get a little Gandalf spell. Light, and he got light on his staff after just mumbling a few things.
In D&D terms, my guess he would be a high level wizard, and he just cast the light cantrip. He's showing off his most powerful spells.
And so he goes. He's looking through there, and he meets our wonderful brown wizard.
Radagast.
Radagast comes back for an appearance. Doesn't do much, as he didn't do anything in the last one. He's just still.
He's there for Gandalf to talk to. He has someone to.
Yeah, Gandalf needs someone to talk to. So that happens. They're in the prison for about a good 4 or 5 minutes, I'd say, maybe even less.
They say, "Oh, the prison, all the evil has left here."
Yeah, and so
like no shit, things are going wrong.
And so they get out, they leave, and then they talk. Gandalf's talking to Radagast about the evil or whatever, how powerful it is, and they're looking off into the sky, like they're looking at something, but they're just looking at the sky. Like I'm like, there's nothing across the way. They're literally looking at the sky like they're looking at something. I'm like, whatever you're thinking of is not right there. Like you are not looking at whatever you think or you're thinking in your head. And so then they go to this castle. Where
Radagast tells them, hey, this is where I saw a evil shadow. He calls himself the Necromancer.
Oh, there you go. And so they go to this evil castle or whatever. It has a spell of concealment on it, so it looks like abandoned or whatever, so no one's there. Then Gandalf in his hero ways, he's like, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna take care of business.
Yeah, he sends Radagast off. He says, "Don't look back, no matter what happens."
Yeah, he's like, He's like, go to Lady G and tell her that we need to provoke the Necromancer. We need to show him. He needs to show his hand to us. And so Gandalf walks in there. Immediately gets his ass whooped.
He goes to the heart of the castle, and then I guess his spell finishes. Like it has to take time to charge or whatever. Finally dispels, the concealment. Shows that there's thousands of orcs. There's thousands of wargs around him.
Yeah.
And they don't capture him right away. They surround him, and then he starts to run away. He uses a concussion spell or something like that. Knocks a bridge down.
Yeah.
They can't follow him.
His staff has the force powers. Because when the pale orc was trying to get to him, he with like a little power thing. I'm like, oh, Gandalf knows the Force. I see. So
yeah, I guess he can. He chooses not to use his good spell. I guess he's like using like a hold monster spell.
Yeah,
and he's just all the times he could have used it before. When the trolls came out, all that. He's just I'm not gonna use that. I want to make it to where it's. All my friends are about to get killed first. Or if I'm about to get killed. If I'm about to get killed, I'm going to use everything in my disposal.
Exactly. And so, now, this was probably my favorite scene of the entire movie was Gandalf versus the Necromancer, who turns out to be Sauron. I really like that whole exchange with both of them. It kind of
this really finally shows that the Necromancer isn't just some random Necromancer. It's Sauron.
It's Sauron, and so I really like that whole exchange. That visually and everything, that scene, it really looked good. The music really made it intense and everything. I really liked it. Sauron, again, to me, is just an underwhelming villain to me. He's just an eye, but they make him look so cool. Yes. But he's just an eye. And I'm just like, man. I'm like, they give him the nice music, all this cool shit, and then they remind you, oh wait, don't forget. He's just an eye, and I'm just like,
yeah,
it's just a little underwhelming. But and then after that, Gandalf he gets all captured.
Yeah, it's like a light versus dark fight where he uses like a super powerful. This is like where he actually shows that he's got real power.
Yeah,
he uses a super powerful like light force field or whatever, but he ends up getting overwhelmed because Sauron's much stronger than him. And then he gets like pinned to a rock, and he gets captured like Gandalf likes to do.
And loses his staff in the process. So hopefully he gets another one and has better spells with it.
Yes. Hopefully he gets the exact same staff later on.
And so that's the whole Gandalf side quest. So then we cut back to the dwarves, back on at the river or whatever. They meet a human. He's pretty cool. What was his name again? His name is
Bard. He's not a bard though. Don't think that he's a bard. It's just his name's Bard. He's more like a ranger.
And so we meet Bard. They ask him, to smuggle him past where they need to go to get to the mountain or whatever. So he agrees once they pay him or whatever. So they pay him. He dumps fish in the barrels with him, and then they get to the city where Bard lives or whatever.
I think it's called Lake Town.
Lake Town?
Yeah, Lake Town.
And so they get to Lake Town. There's the I guess like the ruler and his right hand man. They're like villains, like a little hitchman out of a 60s 70s kind of show. They're very comic, they're very cartoonish kind of people. When I was like, he's got the unibrow. The other one's all like drunk. I don't know.
He's like the fat ruler.
Yeah.
All my peasants are ungrateful.
Exactly. And so
the other guys, we have to play by the rules as long as it benefits me.
So yeah, the other guys, he's got like the unibrows. They just very cartoonish to me. Everything that happened in Lake Town, I really didn't care for. But
they go there because they pay Bard, the ranger, to give them weapons. But he brings them weapons. They're not really weapons. They're just improvised farming tools, harpoons, hooks on like sticks.
Yeah.
So, Thorin immediately says, he turns them down. We're going to go steal weapons from the king. And they go to steal weapons. And then they gather all the weapons up in the armory. And who do they give it to?
They give it to the one guy who's been shot in the leg, and that made me mad.
They say, "Are you okay to carry this?" And he goes, "Yes."
Like he's literally wounded. He's limping around. They gotta carry him, and like they have to hop on the other dwarfs to get to the window. And I'm like, first of all, how did he hop up there all the way to that window? And why are y'all making him carry these things? He is not suited to carry these fucking swords right now. And what happens? He falls down.
He falls down the stairs with all the weapons, creating the biggest noise in the city. Like, it's a pretty quiet town.
And so, and that's also another thing. Bard, he brings these dwarfs there. He's smuggling them in, but then in the very beginning, like as soon as he opens the gate or whatever, one of the cartoonish villains is like, "We know where you live." He's like, "Small town. Everyone knows where everyone lives." And I'm like, then he brings 13 dwarves out, and I'm like, it's a small town. Everyone's gonna see that you're smuggling these guys in.
He has his boat like parked, I don't know, 1,000 feet away from his house. He dumps all the barrels full of fish that he's using to smuggle them in, gets all the dwarves out of the barrels, and says, "All right, let's go walk to my house. Hope no one sees."
And so then that happens, and then but it turns out that he didn't even need to smuggle them in. If I'm being honest with you, because the dwarves get captured, and they bring them to like the ruler of the place. And just turns out that there's a prophecy, and they're here to fulfill it. So they're like, you know what? Just go. We'll give you a boat. We'll give you the weapons, whatever you need, and you go up to the mountains and you bring us the gold back, and share your wealth with us, and let you do what you got to do. Bard does not like that because he found out who Thorin was, or the Oaken Shield. He found out who he was, and he's like, You're gonna go and wake up the dragon, and that's gonna be bad for us.
The dragon in the prophecy is supposed to come to this town and set it on fire.
Yeah, and so we speed up. We go to the mountain. They get to the mountain. They need the last light day of, what was it called? Doran's Day.
Doran's Day.
Like that. Yeah, they need the last light of Doran's Day. sun goes away. They can't find it. They're beating the thing out. They're beating it with axe. You know, they're knocking on it. They can't find it. So then they go, you know what? We're done. We lost the sunlight. We're going back down.
The sun goes down, and then they say, you know what? We're just done. Like, not even, let's find a town nearby, wait here another year, and then retry again. No, Thorin's like, I'm just going to drop the key. I don't care where it lands.
And so they give up. They walk down. And so they got to walk down this big statue. And the camera shows you walking. They're like halfway down. Like, they're almost to the ground. Bilbo's the only one that stayed behind. He's staying around, and he's like, no, y'all can't give up or whatever. So he's staying there. He's repeating the same lines that are on the map or whatever. And then, what could you guess? The moon shows up.
Yeah, the last light is the moon,
not
the sun.
And Bilbo's like, guys, it's the moon. It's the last light. It's the moonlight. And you're thinking, those guys can't hear you. They're pretty down there. They're not gonna come back. He's looking. He sees the keyhole, and he can't find the key. He found the keyhole, but he can't find the key. That was just right under his feet. He's like, it was just here. He kicks it, almost falls off the mountain. Can you guess who showed up?
Oakenshield.
Oakenshield stomps on the key, and he's like, picks it up, and not only is Oakenshield there, I'll give you Oakenshield. Maybe Oakenshield was like, maybe I can't give up. I'm not gonna go back. But he turns around, and all the other dwarves are there, and I'm like, y'all were all the way down there. There's no way y'all are that fast. And if y'all were that fast, these movies wouldn't be this long. And so
they go to put the key into the keyhole, which is supposed to be like untraceable. You can't find it unless the conditions are 100% correct.
Yeah.
But it looks to me like, you know, if you just felt around long enough, you could find this keyhole. It looks like a keyhole. It's not hidden under anything. It's just on a wall, right out in the open.
And so they get inside. And then this is where they tell Bilbo, hey, this is where you're supposed. This is what we needed you for.
Yeah, I know you've been here to do everything so far,
but this is where you're really needed. And so they're there. They tell him go find the Arkenstone or whatever. We don't know if the dragon's still alive down there. You know, you got to go find out for yourself or whatever. So he goes down there. He's looking for the Arkenstone. And then he moves some of the coins move, and it's Smaug. Smaug's there. He's sleeping, taking a dragon nap, and then he wakes up and he smells. He smells Bilbo, but Bilbo put the ring on, so he can't see him, but he's smelling him. And so then they go through all of that, and he just tells him to come out. Bilbo takes the ring off. Bilbo's kind of sucking up to Smaug, you know.
Yeah, he's like Smaug the Magnificent. I just wanted to see if the tales were true.
Yeah, and so he does that, and then so him and Smaug have a little exchange here and there, which I also I liked all the things with Smaug. Smaug was pretty cool. They made him look intelligent and stupid at the same time. Because he says a lot of smart things where I'm like, okay, you make a lot of sense.
He's like, I know why you're here. You're not just here to see me. You're here because, you know, Thorin brought you here.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but all it takes is for you to call him a worm or a slug, and like, he will like forget all logic leaves his head. And he's just like,
I have to go after the last person that insulted me.
Exactly. And it's just like there's one, like even further, like once Oakenshield and all the dwarves come in to help Bilbo out or whatever, they go and he's like, they run away. They come up with this master plan to go to like the furnaces or something like that. Is that what they call? Was it the furnace or something like that?
Yeah, it's the Great Dwarven Furnace.
Yeah, the Great Dwarven Furnace. They're like, well, we're not going to be able to get there. He was like, split up. So they split up, and like Smaug sees Oakenshield, Bilbo, and the old elf, the old dwarf, and he's like, he's going after them. But then some of the other dwarfs scream at him. He goes to them, and some other dwarfs scream at him, and he goes to them. I'm like, Smaug, do you not see what they're doing to you, my guy?
Yeah, they're just trying to, you know, let one get past you, and then it comes back to the other group.
Exactly, and somehow they all make it out. They all get there, even before that. Oakenshield was like, some of y'all are probably not gonna make it, and that's okay with me. But and so anyway, so then they go to the furnaces, but they can't start the furnaces because they're too cold. So what happens? It's a good thing there's a fire-breathing dragon around because otherwise they'd be screwed. And
they start talking shit to Smaug. He obviously he can't get through the little grating that they slip through, so he shoots fire through it to burn them, and then lights the Great Forge.
Yeah, lights the Great Forge, and they're like in some pillars. And before this, Smaug was knocking down pillars like they were nothing. Like he was just smashing them down the ground. As he was doing it, he was bragging about how strong he is. But for some reason, he didn't want to go through these pillars. For some reason, he wanted to go
break through the giant iron gate.
Yeah, he wanted to so he's breaking through the gate while they're doing their thing. They're making I think they're making bombs and something.
Like flashbang bombs.
Yeah, and
they're diverting the gold to go to like this big statue later on.
And they got Bilbo working on the water lever. Well, the water doesn't work out. The bombs don't work out. So the last resort is the gold. So they start pouring the gold or whatever. And Oakenshield, he's on top of this thing. He grabs it and then he throws it on top of the hot gold that is streaming out. He hops on it, and whatever he is sitting on has to be some strong metal because it does not melt or anything. Nothing happens to this thing.
His master plan is we're going to try and trick this dragon into getting to the exact right position to where we can pour gold all over him. You know, the fire-breathing dragon. Let's kill him by pouring gold on him. But he's riding on this shield down one of the chutes, and the gold doesn't melt the shield, doesn't do anything. He's perfectly fine. Oh, but it'll kill the dragon though.
And so they get there, and so Smaug was just about to leave. He's about to go to the lake town, and I guess to prove a point or something. I forget why he's leaving. He's leaving. He's gonna go Lake Town. Bilbo tells him no, and he's like, "Oh, you care about these people. It's a good thing you do." Oh, well, here comes Thorin again with more insults, and that poor old Smaug. That he won't leave. He has to. You called me a name. I gotta turn around. And
he starts throwing insults. He turns around, and then Thorin's standing on the top of this golden statue they made for the first king. And then all the gold's diverted to that statue, melting the statue. And of course, the dragon's in the perfect position. All the gold rushes from the statue and covers him. It's a giant pool of molten gold. And then they think, oh, we finally defeated the dragon. But dragons are resistant to fire. They're resistant to heat.
And so Smaug comes on out, and he's like, revenge! Revenge! He goes up into the sky, and he's just like, gets all the gold off of him, and he's flying to the lake town, and he's just like, what'd he say? He goes, he's like, I am fire. I am death. And then
the end.
The end. Cliffhanger.
The desolation of Smaug. They don't kill him in this movie.
They don't kill him in this one, though. They don't kill him in this one, which was a little disappointing, but I guess we'll see how it goes in the third one. And so, but yeah, I really thought they were going to kill him in this one. I thought.
Yeah,
so.
You'd think from the title. I remember seeing they're introducing him at like the last 30 minutes of the movie, and I'm thinking to myself, they don't really have a whole lot of time to kill this dragon. Like they got to really get to it.
Real quick, there is this one scene where Smaug, he's chasing them down, and he breathes fire, and it catches on Oakenshield, and he's like, he's on fire. Like he's screaming like he's in pain. Then 5 seconds later, he takes whatever he was wearing and he goes, "Come on!" And let's
go.
Like he's perfectly fine. And I'm like, okay, Oakenshield.
He's screaming like he's like in immense pain, and then immediate straight face, doesn't care. Like, let's go cover the dragon in some gold.
It's like, come on. But yeah, overall, like I said, I like this one. This one so far out of the. I mean, it's just two, but I definitely like this one. This one was definitely, it was more going. Like I said, not a lot of walking for this one. It was a lot more like stuff was happening, and like even when stuff wasn't happening, I was still in there. But like I said, definitely not a bad one. I like this one. I'll give this one. I'll give it a 7.5.
Yeah, I'd probably give it 8 out of 10. I really was wanting more from Gandalf. I hate the way he just always gets preoccupied with shit. Like You want there to be like some fighting, you got a little bit of the dwarves, you got a little bit of the elves, and then you got Gandalf, using his spells. You don't get that in this movie. I mean, you see him using spells, but not much.
Gandalf was a little underwhelming in this one, but I don't know. Maybe it's like that in the books. We haven't read the books or anything like that, so we don't know. But yeah. So like I said, no, I definitely like this one. This one was definitely an improvement from the last one. I was like, oh man, if this second one's anything like the last one, I don't know. We might have to move on to Transformers or something. But yeah, future, foreshadowing. By the way, we are doing Transformers, so we
all 30 movies.
But so that's happening. But yeah, so like I said, I definitely like this one, and I'm kind of looking forward to the five armies, the battle of the five armies.
Yeah.
And only because it is shorter. I think it's shorter than all the other ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's about maybe 20, 30 minutes shorter. I think it's around a good 2 hours and 20.
Okay. Yeah,
so
that's really not bad.
And I'm hoping there's a lot of battling and not more walking. Cause
I think the whole movie is just going to be fighting the dragon and then battling between all the armies.
I hope so. But yeah, overall, like I said, I like this one. I like everyone in it. Everyone did pretty good, whatever they had to do. But like I said, yeah, definitely so far, my favorite out of what I've seen so far. And that's just 2. So,
well, all right. See us in the next part.